Dr. A, you are one of the most interesting people I've ever met. I know you've got a wealth of knowledge, so many stories. Uh, to not get super personal, I I just want to touch on a little a little bit about, there was a time that um, you almost died, the and during this time you've gone through several cancers, heart attack, right? And you even were pronounced dead on the surgical table, and so one time your ex-husband basically took all of your money, and this wasn't just $1,000, this millions of dollars, took all your money. You woke up, you ended up homeless. Okay, from here, how the heck did you get through this mentally?
Well, again, it goes back to that 6 weeks of negative that I did on that residential school, that I said I could never give up. So what ended up
So you
happening,
took such a difficult time and kind of just carried it over in different parts of your life.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's now part of my marrow, my core, that I
Yeah.
can't give up.
Because you were able to get through that time, and that mindset is how you got through others.
Yeah, and like I was in the military and ended up getting severely hurt. I spent basically over 3 years between the VA and Walter Reed and the VA. And during that time, my ex, I had a prenup. So, and it basically said if I married him for 5 years and he got 5 million. If it was within the 10, he got 10 million. After, and at 15 and further up, he'd get 15, but that's it. And that's a pretty decent settlement.
Absolutely.
But when I was in the hospital, they didn't think I would be much more than a toddler at best. And they never thought I was really going to be much anything, never walk, talk, or anything over again. So he filed for custodianship. And what people don't realize is if a child's taken from their parents or whatever, they're assigned an ad litem, a lawyer, to look after their financial, their health, their well-being, and all physical, everything. But as an adult, we get emancipated, or we get custodianship. I have less rights than a dog or a horse or a pig. I mean, especially back, a lot of people don't realize how little, but they can do anything. They can put you in the psych ward. They don't need other doctors, because normally if a person objects, you have to have 2 doctors and after 2 weeks, a hearing in front of a judge if you want. But as emancipated, you don't get that.
Or custodial care.
Custodianship. You don't get that right. And so after he had custodianship, and he was transferring all of my income and all the business, he either put some business in his name, most of them he sold outright. And so basically then when I started becoming more than just a toddler, and now other people have clothes like these, and I'm still wearing surgical smocks because he wouldn't bring anything in, and I'm asking, and he's saying, "We don't have any money, we don't have money." And initially my brain wasn't working enough to say that doesn't sound right. But when it started getting where it started working more and I started questioning it, some vets overheard him, because he was at a VA hospital, about putting me into a psych ward and giving me medication because I was seemed to be upset. and irritated about things, and they were willing to do that. But they basically kidnapped me, took me, and I went to Las Vegas, and I lived there underneath the bridge for a few months. And they introduced me to other vets that were living underneath the bridge, and they lived in a refrigerator box. So they went and got me a refrigerator box. We went to they had these trash can dumpsters that are Salvation Army, and we went in there, we got me, 'cause remember I'm just in a smock, got me some clothes that kind of fit, and all that, and then we took a bunch of the clothing, put it in the shopping cart, and took it over, laid it in the refrigerator box, and that was my bed and my home for a few months. They also introduced me over to American Legion, which is the ones that helped me file for my disability and my retirement, because I had no income, none, because he transferred every penny that he could get a hold of at that time over.
You
know?
weren't mad?
Yeah, I was mad. I mean, when I finally understood, but the problem is, it took me a while. Because, you know, at first they said I'd never walk. It couldn't happen. Well, by this time, I was walking. But my right hand wasn't working as well, or my right leg would. And so they made me this little device that I could snap it onto a walker and go, and so that's how, when I left that hospital, I was walking.
Wow. So
You
it
know,
sounds
it's-
like how you got your balance during this difficult time was basically leaning on friends, the support that you had during that time, and of course, like you said, remembering your value from those traumatic times when you were 6.
And every these little white junctions, I had people that were there that made a difference for me to go in a positive direction instead of a negative. I've been so lucky throughout my entire life that that's happened. And I can make all this stuff sound so terrible my whole life. And there are terrible things, but there's so many more wonderful and great things.
Yeah.
Like the people that got me out of there.
Yeah.
And so, and they
You
introduced
just
me to
don't
those.
focus on the negatives. You're always focusing on the positives. I mean, there was a time you had some gold, and your caregiver took it, and I remember asking you, like, you're not mad? You're like, well, you know, what could you do? And you just kind of,
You are mad,
Yeah.
and then get over it.
yeah,
But that didn't just instantly happen. That took a lot of practice and getting my values.
yes.
My
And your
core
mindset
values.
is always so positive, and you know what? You always are willing to try again and trust people, and you know, because I guess, like you said, there are so many good people in your life that it outweighs the negative people that have hurt you and have
Exactly.
caused you wrong. You
And
know?
everybody has that. Almost everybody, if they will look for it.
Yes.
Most are not willing to look for it. But if they're willing to, life can be pretty awesome.
Wow. Amazing.